In the deep recesses of one's mind, there is a voice, a guiding light through the darkness, a connection to the other side.
You're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just poor little me.
A pathway to spiritual that echoes with enlightenment. The voice of spirit.
The voice of spirit.
You are a function of this total galaxy, bounded by the Milky Way, and that furthermore, this galaxy is a function of all other galaxies.
Your journey starts here and now. With your host and connection to spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, a very, very warm welcome to you, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening or night, wherever you happen to be in the world. This is Leo Bonomo. We're talking tonight about a gentleman called Leslie Flint, who I was privileged to have sat with. And Leslie Flint is was, or still is in spirit, quite an extraordinary man. He's what we would call a direct voice medium. So unlike other types of physical mediumship, the voices appear and they appear in the air, and you can have intelligent conversations with them like we can, or like you can with any other person. So you don't need to be psychic or clairvoyant or whatever to hear them. So this is what we're going to do. Leslie was very well known for his direct voice mediumship. I'm going to give a lot more information about that in the second half of the show. But what you have to take in is that these recordings that you're going to hear, there's just two of them this time, they are spirit talking about themselves, their lives, how they passed over and how they progressed in spirit. So I have to emphasize that for you. These are not fake recordings. These are real. Many of them have been tested, and it's a spirit talking about themselves. And the first one we've got is a gentleman called Tucker. He describes himself as a gentleman of the road, but the old-fashioned term of that was highwayman. Now, many of them were very nasty, torturers, etc. Tucker's a lovely, lovely gentleman. And you can hear the authentic accent of Tucker. And once you realise what he's talking about, like meat hanging outside to dry and to cure, Tucker passed over in the 1600s. So from our point of view, very, very long time ago, a very, very old gentleman. But as he describes, you can hear him talk about him being transformed into a much younger man. And you can hear him also talk about a loved one that he'd lost. She passed away very early and he grew to be an old man, and that they have a chance to relive that life. So in that sense, it's not lost. It may have been lost in earth time, but it's regained in spirit time. And he has a chance to see what could have happened with that. So I'm sure you will find this absolutely fascinating. And the next clip that we'll hear after that is a gentleman called Wagstaff. Again, a lovely, lovely gentleman. He was gassed in the First World War, and that's what eventually took him over. And he will also talk about his life, his passing, attending his own funeral, and life, how it was for him. So we hope that you find this extremely interesting. Again, I do say these are original and real recordings. So get yourself ready, have a cup of tea, a beer, whatever you want to do, and listen to these recordings. They are clear, they are intelligent, and they are real. So you're in for a feast tonight. In the second half of the show, I'll be explaining a little bit more about Leslie, his life, the recordings that he's made since the 1950s. There are just over 6,000 of these recordings. Some of them are famous people, J. Edgar Hoover, Ellen Terry, the famous actress, Queen Victoria comes through. But for now, we have these two very simple gentlemen, not famous. Personally, I prefer the ones that aren't famous because we get to see their lives in an extraordinary way. So there's quite a lot that you will see. It is something I know that you'll want to hear again on archive, because it is quite something to take in that these are real voices. One of the other things as well, for people that we have recordings for, like Winston Churchill from the Second World War and after, Winston Churchill has also been recorded. He's been through a number of times, and what they've done is run the voice recording that has come through Leslie Flint through analyzers, and it's a 99.9% correct identification. So these are absolutely real. Leslie was one of the world's most tested mediums, and he was bound, gagged, etc., tested in so many ways. As he says in his autobiography, still the voices came. One of the other extraordinary things about Leslie Flint as well was having done it for so many years, where he was originally unconscious or fell asleep or in trance, quite some time into his career, he would actually be awake as well and converse with the voices. So if you're talking about ventriloquism or some way of faking this, that is completely ruled out. As I say, he was one of the world's most tested mediums. Lovely gentleman. It was a great privilege to meet him. And when I sat with him, the voices actually appeared about 6 or 7 inches under the ceiling. And whilst I was looking clairvoyantly and I could see the gentleman walking from corner to corner, you can physically hear the voice in that instance travelling from corner to corner just under the ceiling. So a fascinating, absolutely genuine gentleman. We don't have too many direct voice mediums. We certainly don't have a direct voice medium of that calibre anywhere in the world. And if we do, and I don't know of you, I do apologise, but we certainly don't have any of that calibre. So if it's something that you're interested in, I will give you, after the break as well, a website address. It's leslieflint.com. You can go on there and you can hear more recordings. And if you would like a show with more of these recordings in that we can adjust in some way, then fantastic, we can do that. So we're just going to go straight into the clip.
Hello. Times have changed a lot. I never recognise anything around here now.
Don't you?
It's different altogether to what it used to be.
Yeah.
You never know where you was now. I wouldn't know if you hadn't had it explained to me. Towns have changed, people's clothes, everything's changed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh dear, dear, dear.
So are you afraid?
What a changed place this is. Oh, years ago this was all fields.
Yeah?
Oh dear, dear, and there was a whole place somewhere just round here that I used to go and hide out many a time. It's all gone too. Oh dear, goodness me, I have no desire to come back to your world. I've had my fill of it. You wouldn't understand if I told you. The good happy old days. I'm a different fella now. I'm a different chap. I'm a happy man. I wasn't exactly miserable when I was on your side. I had me ups and me downs. I had me good times, I had me bad times, but when I was on your side, oh dear, this was all countryside, all fields, and a few little places here and there, a little hamlet not far from here there was, and a very good old place called the Boa, where I used to go and hide up for a while sometimes when things got a bit too hot.
So where are you,
I was on the road. My name won't mean a thing, of course, to you. Why should it? My name was Harry. Harry.
Harry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harry Tucker.
Harry Tucker?
Yeah, old Harry Tucker.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to say what some of them used to call me, but I had some good larks, and I had a few guineas here and there. The old coaching place wasn't so far away, but it used to sometimes change horses you wouldn't remember markets. It was quite a nice one. I used to go out there to Ipswich.
Yeah.
Oh, and I used to be a great friend of old Will's. He was a bright spark, he was. You're living many years after me. Oh, I'm talking about...
Were you on the highway?
I was talking about 160, 180 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Not so far, old Tyburn was up here. Some of the unlucky ones. I had the good fortune to die in my bed. I cheated them, didn't I?
Harry, how did you were a highwayman, weren't you?
Well, you could call me that.
Yeah.
I wasn't exactly highwayman. I was a bit of this and a bit of that.
Well, Harry, when you passed over,
When I did what?
when you died, well, tell about that.
When I died.
Well, how did you react to it? What sort of conditions did you find yourself in?
I didn't quite get... I remember sitting in the bar. I was getting on a bit then, and I got a little bit tucked away.
Yeah?
I snuffed it.
Yeah, well, what happened?
Snuffed it, I did.
Yes, but what
And
happened
when
when
I
you...
snuffed it, I remember coming down that staircase. The place was dark, not a soul about.
Yes, go on, Harry.
Didn't know as I was dead. Funny, I had a feeling for something to whet my appetite.
Yeah?
Funny that. I thought I'd get a bottle. Funny thing there, coming down the stairs.
Yeah?
And I thought to myself, well, I hadn't got a candle, I don't know, but it was a summer's night. The moon was bright. Could see the way. I knew where to go. I'd been there hundreds of times. He didn't know it, the old tap man. He didn't know that often I used to go and help myself in the night. It was habit, I suppose. When I was all asleep, he used to open the old door, down I'd go. I knew where to get a bottle. He never missed it. That night I went down. Must have been 3 or 4 in the morning. I remember hearing a church clock strike. 3 it was. Went to the usual place. Put my hand in the cupboard. Went to get hold of a bottle. Couldn't pick it up. Couldn't make any tail on it. Never happened before. It seemed funny. Couldn't get hold of that bottle. Couldn't grasp that bottle. The more I put my hand around it, the more difficult it was. I didn't feel as if I was touching a thing. Then it suddenly stopped me coming down the stairs. It was as if, I don't know, I didn't feel my hand on the banister and my feet on the stairs. Didn't feel any weight. I thought to myself, gradually, I thought, well, I feel light, you know. I thought, well, this is most strange. So I thought, well, I must be dreaming or something, or I must be sick. So I thought, I'll go up back into the bed. So I goes up the stairs, quiet like. Didn't feel as if I was touching the stairs, and I thought I'm light-headed, something, you know, odd. Like, opens the door, that's another funny thing. I pushed the door, and it was as if somehow I walked through it, which I thought I must be having some sort of a dream or something, nightmare, you know. And I goes to get on the bed, and I sees a man there. I thought I'd gone into the wrong room, so I starts to go back. And then I sort of felt something odd, strange, uncanny. The light was, moonlight was streaming through that window onto that bed. And I could see this man's face, and I thought, God, oh, he's like me. And somehow, when I went close up to him and looked at it, I could see it was me. I couldn't believe my eyes. I didn't know what to make on it, so I started running down those stairs like as if the devil was behind me. Shouting I was at the top of my voice. No one seemed to hear a word. No one came. I thought, this is strange. What's gone wrong here? So I ran up the stairs and banged on the doors. I could hear the noise of the banging, but no one woke up. No one took any notice. I was in a terrible state. I flew out down the stairs, opened the door of the inn, flew down the path, shouting. I ran down the road, across the fields, and I came to a river, not far from here it was. And I stopped at the river. There's something wrong. This is a nightmare. This is crazy. This is madness. This is stupid. This is, I just couldn't realize. I sat down on the bank, and I was like as if I was in a dream. I couldn't believe this is true. I suddenly began to realize there's something different about me. I didn't feel the same. And by this time it was getting daybreak, and I was sitting on the edge of this bank. I could see the water, and I could suddenly, as I looked down, I could see myself. It was my reflection, I suppose. And I couldn't believe it. It didn't look like me.
Come on, Harry, it's awfully interesting.
Come on, Harry, it's very interesting.
It looked like a young fella.
Oh.
A very young fella it was. I couldn't believe it. And then, after a while, I thought, this ain't me. What's that? I thought someone behind me, and I turned around and there was no one there. I couldn't make it. I made it a day on it. And then I got up and I walked. Must have been miles I walked. And by this time people were about. I remember a carriage went by. It was full of people. And I was thinking to myself, well, if I'd have been, I'd have been able to have perhaps got a few guineas or something, but somehow it was as if I was not myself at all. And then I walked on, and it seemed as if everything was going past me. The funny thing was, it seemed as if as a crowd of people started to gather, all walking, and I couldn't see them. But I could hear them. I could hear them chattering. I could hear them talking. I could hear them laughing. I could hear their footsteps. And I stopped and I looked behind me. And I couldn't see anyone. And if I walked on a bit, I stopped and looked behind me. No one there. And yet I could see people that were doing that ordinary things, passing little cottages and places. And saw people banging their carpets and bringing in eggs from the chickens and the cows I could see in the fields, and occasionally I could see someone on horseback go by, but these were all people that couldn't see me, I suppose. At least I spoke to several people and no one said nothing. Then I could hear these people behind me. All the time I could hear people behind me. It's as if no one could see me. And I could see those that were still on earth, but I couldn't see these other peoples that I knew was behind me. And I could hear like a quick crowd of people. It was as if I was not aware of that. And yet I knew they was there. I wanted to know who they was and what they was and why they was following me, and why I could see other people that were still obviously on earth, and they couldn't see me, the people on earth. As if I wasn't there and I was there, and no one realised I was there, and yet I was there with them. No one spoke, no one took no notice. And I remember I felt hungry, and I came to a little place beside an inn place, and I could see some people going in there, and I thought I'd go in and see if I could get something to eat. And I could hear these people laughing and chattering. And as I went in the door, I could hear them behind me. And I looked round sharp, and no one came in. And I could see other people inside. And I sat down. And I banged on the table, some attention. No one came, no one took any notice. Someone on the other side was eating a pie or something. And there was a woman there in the corner. And she looked like one of those sorts of, I don't know what to think. And I kept banging on the table, and no one took any notice. And I went up to the bar place and called out to the man. I says, come on, give me, I want something. You know, look at me like to speak to serve. And he didn't take no notice. The woman came over and she got a drink. He was talking to her. And I was standing there. I shoved her one side, but she didn't seem to take any notice. And I realised that these people, they just didn't know I was there. And I was in a state, and I thought, well, I didn't know. I just still felt empty inside. And yet I felt all the time as if I was delirious. Anyway, I realised it was no good, so I went out, and when I got to the door, I could see a whole crowd of people. Oh, there must have been hundreds of people. Well, there was men, and there was women, and there was children, and there was dogs, and there was all stretching right across the road there was, and they were all laughing and chatting, and two people came forward out of the crowd, and I recognised them. One was my father. He'd been dead somewhere around 40 years, and he came laughing. I'd never seen him look so well, red face, happy, jolly he looked. And with him was my sister, who died many years before she had. And there they was. They says, come on, we've been following you, waiting for you. But he wasn't ready, you couldn't see us, you didn't know we was there. We brought all our old friends, and then I looked around me and I could see that none of these people were people I had known years ago. Because my father was a very religious man, he was, shocking he was. And I ran away from home when I was quite young, as you know. And we was so happy, and I felt so awful. I began to realise that, by this time I knew something terrible had happened, but I would hardly admit it to myself, I suppose. But anyway, they took me by the arms, and they were pushing me and pulling me and through this crowd, and they was all singing, and I realised that they were singing some song. Can't remember how it went, but it was as if there was a choir, like you might get in a church, sitting there one singing nothing religious, but it was happy and bright and colourful and all that, you know, and everybody I realised then looked awfully well dressed, which struck me as odd, because we were never well-off people or something, and they was dressed nice and neat and tidy, and I noticed another thing, that they'd all got their own hair. Of course, we used to do up our own hair, and then when the rich people used to powder theirs, and sometimes have these here, artificial hair, you know. But all these people looked neat and tidy, and hair was beautifully brushed, and nice and fresh and clean, and nice attire they got. And I looked at myself, and I was amazed, because I hadn't got no more of them old clothes that I'd been wearing. I was like I was when I was a young man, but dressed in a nice suit. I was, plum-coloured suit it was, and nice breeches and nice shoes, and I realised I was different. It was as if somehow all of a sudden this had come, but I realised afterwards it was just people's, their thoughts and their sort of look, I suppose, towards me, helped me. Oh, we went up this place, this road, singing and chanting there was, and I laughing to myself then. I was getting more happy and merry, and I lost my hunger, I didn't feel hungry no more. And then, all of a sudden, we seemed to come to the top of an hill. Funny that was, because up to then, the countryside was, as I'd always remembered it, and then it was sudden, we got to the top of this hill, and I looked down, and it was different, nothing like I'd ever seen before. It was like looking at at a distance, in a distance, a great city it was. Oh, it was a beautiful sight it was. Beautiful places, buildings in the distance, just as if it was lit up. Oh, bright and shiny and new and lovely. It was as if the walls were made of jasper and pearl, and oh, it was lovely. It was real lovely. And next thing I knew was I was standing outside what was like an entrance to a, I suppose you call it a castle, but it was not like any castle I'd ever seen. But it was a big place with turrets, and it was very nice and lovely to look at, and it was outside these gates, and these gates gradually opened as if no one was there to open them, but just I glided through, perhaps I walked through, but I was no longer with all these people. It was as if I was on my own and I wasn't. I was conscious of a very tall person beside me, but I couldn't see him. But I knew that if I could see him, he'd be very light and beautiful. I don't know why, but I had a sort of feeling as if he was a knight or something, and yet I knew I couldn't see, or I couldn't see. But it was as if he was a wonderful soul, or someone who was full of light, you know. Anyway, we went into this place, and up a great staircase, and along a big, I suppose, balcony it was. And then we came to a room, a door, and went in this door. Then another thing, as if this door opened of its own accord, and there was a great big hall. Enormous place it was, beautifully, turned out, and there was great big tapestries on the wall, beautiful colours and needlework, and there were several ladies sitting there in old-fashioned costume they was, as I had heard people talk about. So beautiful materials and lovely ladies they was. And there was a man there, and I don't know, I thought at first he was a king or something, but I realised afterwards he wasn't anything of the sort. But he was a wonderful looking old, I say old, well, he looked old, yet as I looked at him I knew he wasn't. It was some sort of a, I don't know, but there again you see something and you feel something, and in this state I was in anyway, he was sitting on this sort of big chair on a sort of raised up part he was, and these ladies were sitting around, and anyway I was conscious of a great deal of sort of, I don't know, warmth I suppose, a nice feeling from him, and I was sort of walking down this sort of ball place, and as I got near him he stood up and he beckoned me forward, and he says, well, I always remember, he says, well, now you are here, you shall see for yourself how you have prepared that which is your home. I don't know what to think, besides suddenly, as if all of a sudden I remembered all the things I'd done. I'd never done no one any real injury, thank God, but I'd robbed and thieved a bit, and well, but these were hard times, and I thought, as if all my life came back in front of me. Anyway, he beckoned me to follow him, and we went down a long corridor, and then we seemed to be going down and down and down and down. I thought, as if we was going down into dungeons, and yet I can't say it was like dungeons or it was that dark. Of course, though we were going down this long sort of passage place, it was illuminated, it wasn't dark, and there was no torches, no nothing to light it up, but I was conscious of the light. And then it came to what was I suppose a room, not very big room, and in there was a man sitting at a table. And I looked at him as I went in, and it was like me, as I was. I couldn't understand this. And then this other person said, this is as you were. So I says, how do you mean what I was? He says, you were like a man in a dungeon. He says, you created for yourself walls and shut out the things that mattered. But this is no more, he says. This is no longer you. This is reflections of what was. He says, but what is and what is to come is what matters. He says you created for yourself a dungeon of darkness. You built around yourself a wall. You shut out the light because your mind wasn't open. He says, now you shall learn, and I shall help you to know. Come, I will take you elsewhere. And I went with him. We went back, up and up and up, and up many steps. And we came back to the place, the large hall. The ladies were still there. And I remember one of them, she came forward, and she took me by the hand. And it was as if in some strange way she took me by the hand, as if I was, transformed or something happened. I don't know how to say it. And I looked at her face for the first time. And it was a face that I'd never forgotten. It was the face of a little girl that I was, in my early years, very fond of, very attached to. And as I looked at her and she looked at me, I realized that if my life could have taken a different path and I could have married her, I'm sure I would have been a different person. I wouldn't have got into bad company and taken up the road and all that. And she smiled at me, and as she smiled I knew that if she hadn't died, as she did when she was a young woman, we could have probably married, and I would have probably been a different person. I'd have probably worked on the farm or done something in the local way that would have got me enough to support us. But she died, that's what really turned me against everything and everybody. And she took my hand there, she did, and she said, now, come. She says, now, you can start all over again with me, and I'm to help you, and I'm to guide you, and to show you the way, she says. And I walked with her out of this great castle place, and we came, so it seemed, to a small place. It was on the verge of I suppose a town, you'd call it, but it was as if it was just outside the town, but yet it was part of it, and it was a small little cottage, you should call it, with a roof. It was thatched, and there was a beautiful feeling, and it's as if I'd come home, and yet I'd never known this place before on earth. And then, as we sort of entered this, she looked different, and yet she was the same. But her clothes changed, and instead of this beautiful elaborate dress, she got a very simple cotton, I suppose it was cotton, but it looked like a cotton dress or something. But she still looked the same to me. Her clothes are different, but she was the same. And she'd been waiting for me all this time. She'd been watching over me, constantly, thinking about me, trying to get me onto the right path she had all those years. And it's strange when I think of it now, but now we're together, and we've made so much progress together, and far, far different, of course, to what it was. But this all happened a long time ago, many years ago. Many things have changed. And she comes with me to go today. She's here. She don't say anything, but another time when I'll come, perhaps she'll also speak. But I'll tell you more about it all, in more detail than I can tell you now. But I'm having to learn still, of course. But anyway, perhaps another time I can come. I'm not good, perhaps, at describing things, but if it's any interest, because that's what I was told, that they wanted us to come and talk about our experience, lives experiences, as you say it is now, your new language, you know. We're learning a lot of things I'd like to tell you, and perhaps I'll get Jenny, and perhaps we'll tell you a lot more later. But I must go.
Thank you, Harry.
But it's been nice meeting you, very nice.
Thank you, Harry.
But I'll be again with you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Harry. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Nicky, love. That's lovely.
Hi, I really hope you've enjoyed that clip and found it very interesting. Again, I can't emphasize too much. These are real clips, real people talking from spirit. And so we're just now going to go right into a break.
This is the voice of spirit, your connection to the other side.
To understand something spiritually, you must experience it. And in order to experience it, you have to experience it in your imagination.
Explore with us by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Everything that now exists was once imagined. Therefore, everything that is going to exist must first be imagined.
Back with your guide to spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Leo Bonomo.
After these brief words from our sponsors. Welcome back to the Voice of Spirit, your connection to the other side.
There's no accidents in this universe. We all show up here with a purpose. There's an intelligence that is a part of everything and everyone, and all of us are connected to it.
Connect with us on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us live in our chat room at kcorradio.com. To get a free reading during the show, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. And now, inspirational clairvoyant medium, psychic, and your connection to the spirit, the host of the Voice of Spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, very, very warm welcome back. I do apologise, I'm tripping over my teeth tonight. I hope you enjoyed that clip of Tucker talking there and some of his experiences, not only of just passing over, which I am very sure that you found interesting. Tucker talks about coming round from what he feels is a bit of a dream, and you can see many kind of connections with films like Ghost, when he's trying to pick up a coin or trying to flick the bottle cap. You can see that there's a similarity there between what Tucker expresses in trying to pick up this bottle of drink that he knows is hidden within the pub, and that his hand goes through it. Now, of course, at that point, he hasn't realised he's passed over. So for him, it's a little bit of a weird dream. He's not quite sure what's happening. One of the things I find really encouraging about that is that, like so many people, he's missed the point of passing. It shows how natural that is, that it's not scary, it's not frightening. We're not suddenly, as is sometimes said to be, that we're judged and we're thrown into hell, or we're taken to heaven. It's not like that at all. So you can see that it's something that's quite easy to miss when we pass over. So there is that little bit of confusion there of feeling quite light on the stairs, of not being able to pick that bottle up. One of the interesting things with Tucker and the 1700s, is that mirrors weren't common. And one of the fascinating kind of innocent things that I find with that clip is that Tucker makes his way up back to the room and thinks that he has entered the wrong room because he's never seen his face. And of course, he goes in and his body's there, dead, of course. And he goes there and he sees this gentleman, and his first reaction is, my God, he's ugly. He actually thinks he's in the wrong room. So hopefully it will bolster this feeling that we need not be afraid of death. We need not be afraid of passing. It is something very natural. It's something that we've all done many, many times before. You will have heard in the clip as well something that I have mentioned many times during the shows of if we are born, if we pass young, we grow up, and if we pass when we're older, we grow younger. And this is exemplified by Tucker feeling that there's something quite odd and wanting to go for a walk. And he finds his way to a river or a stream, and he looks over, and the reflection staring back at him is of a much younger man. And that is quite a shock. It's something that he, again, can't quite get to grips with. So it is something more of the confusion. You'll also hear him talk about a crowd following him, and he can hear laughing and joviality and talking, and he turns around and he can't see them. Now, the reason that occurs or can occur is because at that point he hasn't made that adjustment. His mind is still quite literally locked into the life that he has just left. He's expecting things to be normal. He's expecting things to be a certain way. And so there is confusion because those other spirits are on a slightly different vibration, slightly higher. They are invisible to him. He can't see them, but he can hear them. And it's one of the wonderful processes that we have when we pass over, is that things tend to be done very gradually, very gently, because the intention is to bring an awareness so that we aren't frightened, we aren't confused. And it also highlights very clearly that if we have, for example, very strong religious feelings or expectations, that the mind, if we realise that something has changed, which Tucker did, that we can immediately lock into, right, this is heaven or this is hell, depending on the life you feel you've led. And what you might be expecting. So it's a great example. In these two clips that we've got, Wagstaff after, there's a real sense of being a very gentle introduction to it. So Tucker can hear these voices, people laughing and talking, can't see them when he turns round, and he makes his way to a pub. Now, you will have heard from the clip that he got up early. We don't know for sure, but we know it's very early. If it was summertime, which I kind of get the feeling that it was, or whatever the summer may have been, we're talking about sort of 5 or 6 in the morning, maybe a little later. You may think that's rather strange time to go to the pub, to go for a drink. You may think it a little more strange that there are lots of people in there. It doesn't specify whether it's packed, but there are lots of people there. So again, there's this feeling of this is how people lived. For me, it goes to authenticate what happens. And what life was like then. So he finds his way into this pub, and he's trying to get the attention of the barmaid. He does become quite annoyed because to him it does appear as though he's being ignored. So he can't get any attention that way, makes his way back out, and he can still hear voices and laughing. They gradually come into focus. And he understands that they are family, friends, quite a large crowd. And he is then taken by someone who's helping him. Sometimes they can be guides. Quite often it's a member of the family or certainly someone that is assigned the job of looking after him. And so we have these people which look after us as well. So this is something which he gradually gets to grips with. And he's taken, again, to places. He's taken to a castle. And again, it all fits with his time period, what he would expect. It's all slightly strange, but natural to him. And he goes to talk to a gentleman that he understands. And this is not really so much by any overwhelming power, but he understands that this gentleman is in charge, that there is an authority with him. And he's taken to see a young lady that he doesn't recognise, and I briefly spoke about her. So it's a clip that I think you would need to listen to time and again. So do download it from the archive. I'm not sure whether this one, Tucker and Wagstaff, is still available on the Leslie Flint site. So I'll just give that again. It's www.lesliflint.com. So we have a very natural, even though it's slightly strange, it's a very natural feeling with him. And he goes off with this young woman, and he doesn't recognise her at all. And what happens is gradually he gets to know, and she was the love of his life, or would have been the love of his life. She passed over quite young, and so his life took an alternate course. One of the wonderful things that we find in spirit is that we can see that we have options, and in spirit we can see what the different options were, where they would have led, what could have come of them. And those are both positive options and negative options. So hopefully if we've made the right decision and we've gone forward with that and things have worked out nice, we're also shown how close we come to making the wrong decision and what would have come from that. So it's all a learning experience. Once again, as we know, we're not judged. We judge ourselves. And he goes to meet this, he goes with this young lady, and they start to talk. Again, he's not really recognising her, because for him, obviously, it would have been quite some time since she passed over and he carried on with life. But he does begin to understand. She does enlighten him as to who she was, and they have a chance to carry on that love affair which they had lost, and they get a chance to live together. So it's a wonderful confirmation again of those things which we may feel we have lost in life, or would have wanted to know the what ifs. You know, what if I'd done this in life? What if I'd taken that? We get to explore those in spirit. So again, it's a very comforting thing. And of course, they do settle down in a home of the period and get to live together. So Tucker goes through this explanation. So once again, there's a acknowledgement of his life, acknowledgement of what he'd done, the way he'd lived, why certain things had been placed before him, and the results of those decisions, but also the results of how things could have been different, and could have worked out for him. So there is it's a wonderful, wonderful explanation. In this clip alone, we have so much that we can understand, and this is why I say it is definitely something for you to download from the archive and to listen to again and again. There is so much there that Spirit often confirm and say, well, you know, life is this way, life is that way. These are the things that you're shown. This is what you can do. So it's a wonderful endorsement to the information and confirmation and messages that we have had from Spirit for such a long time. So it's something that is interesting from that point of view, certainly interesting from a historical point of view. So there are many levels on which this works. So it's something that hopefully you found vastly interesting. As we go into the break, we're also going to listen to another gentleman called Wagstaff. And Wagstaff, as I mentioned before, was gassed in the First World War. His recording was recorded, if I'm not mistaken, around 60 years after his passing. So again, you will hear the differences in accents and again, a different lifestyle, different period of time historically. So hopefully you're going to enjoy that. And as we come back after the clip from Wagstaff, I'm going to be talking about Leslie Flint, some of his work and some of the other recordings. We'll see you straight back after this.
You've been listening to Leo Bonomo, the host of The Voice of Spirit. Live every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, guests, and host of The Voice of Spirit, or to book a private reading, please visit leo-bonomo.com. That's leo-bonomo.com. Your connection to the other side is just a phone call away. The Voice of Spirit.
It is amazing, is it not?
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51. Wait, that doesn't exist. This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.
In the deep recesses of one's mind, there is a voice, a guiding light through the darkness, a connection to the other side.
You're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
A pathway to spiritual that echoes with enlightenment. The Voice of Spirit.
The Voice of Spirit.
You are a function of this total galaxy, bounded by the Milky Way, and that furthermore, this galaxy is a function of all other galaxies.
Your journey starts here and now. With your host and connection to Spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, very warm welcome back. We've been listening to a gentleman called Tucker, a highwayman from the 1700s. And about his life, his passing, and what he's found in spirit. There are lots of things there that, for those of you historians or historically minded, that you will understand fit exactly in with the period. You will also understand that the accent is although of course we don't have generally when we can't have any recordings of people from that period. Those recordings weren't invented at those times, but you can hear the accent of him at that time period. So hopefully it's interesting from all kinds of angles for you. What we're going to do now is listen to another gentleman. It's much more up to date. This gentleman is called Wagstaff. Again, a very, very nice gentleman. He was a market trader, amongst other things, and he talks about lots of different things. He also talks about he also talks about vivisection and various things that he's interested in. Okay, now he talks about his life. He also talks about his sister that he's met, and I'll talk a little more about that after the break, because his sister is very religious, And this is an interesting clip from that point of view of how being so religious and so closed off and of a stubborn mind, and how that affects us once we get over. Again, it's one of those things that we have talked about, and I have talked about many times during the show. So it helps you understand what can happen and the kind of place that you can find yourself in. So do enjoy this clip. Again, it is absolutely real. It is genuine. And it is so interesting. I know neither of these clips have been perhaps what you've been expecting, but very interesting for all that. So we're just going to go into the clip.
Good Lord. Well. What an extraordinary thing. I never thought I'd be able to come and speak like this.
Haven't you?
Can you hear what I say?
Yes.
Cool, dear. Where's your friend?
He's very tired today, so he's not coming up.
Oh, poor old chap. Sorry to hear that. Oh, a crowd of people here today, I tell you. Cool.
Have to send a message to him.
Yeah, tell him to keep his pecker up. Tell him that we're doing all around, like, keeping an eye on him, doing what we can to help.
Good, thank you.
Cool, dear, what a crowd there is this morning. Cool, dear.
Can't you speak? I'll give you a talk, Fred, or talk. I don't know.
I've been here before, I have.
What's your name, Fred?
But if anyone had told me about this, I'd never believed it, of course, when I was on your side. But it's all very interesting. My name's Wag.
Wag?
Yeah, well, really, my name's Wagstaff, but I was always known as Wag.
Oh, yeah.
All my friends just call me Wag. Yeah, I had to go back a bit. Cool, dear.
You've been here before, have you, Snake?
I've been here, yeah, many a time, but I've not really had much chance to have a word or nothing, you know.
Well, can you tell us about yourself?
Hey?
Don't tell us about yourself.
Cool, what a packet. Yeah.
What you're doing, do that whole thing?
What am I doing? Oh, well, sort of get myself sort of reorganised, I suppose you could put it like that. Changed my views a good bit, of course, not to have much, really. I was never strong-minded in that way. I had an open mind. I didn't blame people if they wanted to do that or whatever it was, get on with it.
Yeah.
I was in for no one else. I was always, sort of easy-going, me. I never went to church. No, except when I was a little quite a nipper. I got all that out of my system. But I never had it in it, I suppose.
No.
God had me ups and me downs. I lived with my sister for about 40 odd years. I never got married, neither did she. I used to have a stall. Way back, cool, yeah, many years ago now, down Petticoat Lane.
Oh, yeah.
That's going back, cool, must be 40 odd years and more now.
Yeah.
I came through the first war, as you call it.
Yeah.
You know, 1418, and I started up again, but I got back to gas, and that had a bad effect on me, and I came here in 1928, I think it was. Must be 28, yeah, 28. Yeah, I had proper basketball one way or another.
Yeah.
Still, I didn't mind. It was easy going. I enjoyed my life. I think the war put me off a lot of things like religion and all that. I lost faith. Not that I ever had much to start with, you know.
Yeah.
You know, my sister, she was a real one for church going and all that. We had a few arguments. She used to go to Congregationist. Don't know why she particularly went there. I think she enjoyed the singing and the social side of it.
Yeah.
She was a good sister. I think she used to look after me and keep the place nice. Since the old lady had passed over, my father died when I was very young. Well, we were quite happy. Because you wouldn't know Britain Street, would you?
Britain Street?
Britain.
No. No, I don't.
That's been about a few years now.
No.
Things have bombed during the war, a lot of changes up the cut and all that, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to sell all sorts of odds and ends. I used to get a lot of old junk, buy it up, you know, and then sell it, make a bit of a profit. Oh, I left a few quid lying around one way and another. I never had no bank account. But my sister, I suppose she got through all that.
What
you know Brixton at all?
Yes. Yes.
We lived there for a time. Actually, I was really born over that way.
That's changed a lot.
Oh, I'll tell you, mate, everywhere's changed. London's changed beyond recognition.
Yeah.
Very different to what I remember it.
What did you...
What a mess the place is in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
What did you feel when you finally passed over? I mean, were you...
What do you mean, what I feel?
Well, did you... I mean, you didn't think about religion.
No, I was in hospital. I don't know how long. A couple of weeks, maybe. Perhaps longer, I don't know. Just couldn't get my breath. It was just gassy because it's my chest, you see, congestion and all that lot, you know. And my sister came and I remember her sitting there beside me, but I couldn't say nothing. I was sort of half there and half somewhere else. It's funny that I remember seeing her walking down the cemetery path one day. I was standing right beside her, walking beside her. She went to Mother's grave and Dad's grave, you know, and I was buried there too, then, you see. Yeah. And it was me trotting down the path, you know, beside her. She got some daisies or something she got somewhere at a shop. But, you know, she was a bit religious in her way. She said a few prayers and all the rest of it, and tidied up the grave, and, you know, she's all right. She's a good soul. And she's over here now.
Yeah.
I see her sometimes. We're not together though. And she got this highfalutin idea about religion. I think that had effect on her, you know. I expect one day we'll come up together again, but I don't live with her or nothing. The old lady I've seen quite a few times, and my father, but I'm not with them actually. I'm in a different sort of place. Well, it's my own fault, I suppose it is, I don't know. I'm quite happy where I am, so why should I?
What sort of place are you in?
Oh, I've got a nice little country, a nice little place. I always, you know, when I was on your side, I always wanted to live in the country. Because my sister, she was a real Londoner, she didn't want to move out too. So we got a nice little place, one bed. And she was housebound, or that's another thing that used to set us off sometimes. She couldn't cook, you know, dear. She didn't like a speck of dust anywhere. Well, that's all as far as it goes. Oh, when you shift a chair, shift anything, an ornament, whatever it was, she'd been on at you. Oh, she's worse than my mother. She was bad enough. But anyway, that's neither, you know, what was I talking about?
You were talking about her on the other side.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got a nice little place, a little cottage place. I share it with a friend of mine. He and I were buddies, you know. We used to go around and have a drink and all that. And sometimes he'd help me with my job. And I used to go out with an awesome cart, you know, and used to collect stuff from people's houses and they'd chuck it out and give them a few bob for it. Used to take it down the cut and down the market and get rid of it, you know, make a bit on it. Sometimes I got hold of a consignment new stuff, you know, that, well, I don't say it would have been listed or not, but anyway, I used to flog it, you know. And, we had a good time. Anyway, I always got on well with him. We were much the same cup of tea, like peas out of the pot. In fact, both we were taken for brothers. And sometimes people didn't know, we were sitting in the pub having a drink, and we were very much alike, strangely enough. No relation, of course, at all, just friends, but there was a similarity. But I think if I go with my sister, I'd probably packed him to go and live with him. We got on well, we did, you know. Well, she was real hard in her own way. She was well-meaning, but she used to drive you around the bend. She wouldn't touch a drop, you know. You could never take any booze back. You could never take anyone back. You couldn't use the parlour. You know, it was murder living with her, but she was my sister and she depended on me more or less. She was really clever with her needles. She used to do a bit of sewing and she's quite good at that. She worked, well, she didn't actually, she didn't work in a way, but she went out to work. She used to just go to the place and fetch it, take it home and then do it, take it back, get a few bob. Well, I didn't mind. I didn't want her to go out and work. We could manage. But she was a miserable bitch, really. I didn't want to live with her over here, so it worked out all right. So I'm with my friend Sam.
Yeah.
Cooks, and that's another thing. He's a bit of a case. He and I thought much alike. No time for religion. Wow. I suppose I shouldn't be like that, pushing on well-meaning, uplifts people, but my sister put me off it too, in a way. Mm-hmm. You know, my mother was, well, it started its way back in the family. Anyway, my sister's building was really, she used to go down. Of course, that grave, by the way, is in a proper mess now. You can't see it for weeds and can't see it for grass. They don't bother these days, you know. They don't blame them. Not much point to it. When you're dead, I used to say. Of course, that's not true, because I find them they're much more alive. But, I wouldn't come back to your side, not for nothing. I was telling you about my sister. She used to go regular every Sunday. She used to go to church in the evening. Sunday she'd visit the cemetery. We'd get an hot lunch. That was another thing, you know. She used to cook this here meal, midday dinner we called it, you know. But people call it lunch, don't they? But, oh blimey, if I was in late, she got it in the oven, she was in a proper state about that. Oh, that was another thing. Sometimes I'd get back late from the pub. We used to have a set to her then. But she'd always be haughty. She'd never sort of, well, I don't know, she's the case. I couldn't have lived with her. I mean, I had to more or less on earth, I suppose, in a way, being my sister's supporter, but I'm not with her here. I mean, I couldn't stand that long.
What do you, I beg your pardon.
Well,
what do you do with
she's still
yourself?
got this religious mania, you see.
No.
So she's happy, you know. I see her from time to time. She says the guy ought to come out of the condition of whatever she likes to call it, where I am, or why should I? We're very happy here. I'm no longer an old, well, I wasn't all that old when I came, maybe in the 40s, but, you know, I'm young and fit and well, my friend and I, we love the countryside, we talk to the animals, and it's a funny thing that you say talk to animals, you can talk to animals here and they understand you too. And they have their own little way of life. I've got 2 dogs. Another thing, she wouldn't have a damn dog in the house. I always wanted a dog, I did, always did. She wouldn't even have cats, she's that prejudiced. Most women like cats, but she didn't. She didn't know any animals much. Would make place untidy. She said hairs everywhere and all that. She said, look, you used to say to me, look at Mrs. Smith next door, look at her place, all those cats piddling all over the place from the smell and all that, you know. God. No, you couldn't have anything where she was concerned. She was too damn helps, but and so now I've got a couple of lovely dogs that came over some few years back. One was killed, and I was able to help it when it was killed in the streets. And the other one belonged to a relation of ours. Nell, we didn't see her much, not Nell. She was an aunt, actually, my mother's sister. We used to visit her on rare occasions. You know, she was real animal. She loved the animals. Of course, my sister, she used to always moan about her. She'd only go to her place, it stinks here, so, you know. Well, the dog was clean. Lovely little dog. I liked Nell, so anyway, I got Nell open, and this other dog that I told you about was killed, like, you know. Oh, I'm very happy in my way. I'm free and easy. I'm studying. I'm learning. I go to church, but not religious church. Now, that may strike you as odd, doesn't it?
Religious church?
Well, I call it church, but it ain't church, because they don't talk about religion, so I suppose in a way it ain't church.
What do they talk about?
Well, talk about philosophy, they talk about life, progression and spiritual matters, but somehow it ain't church to me, although I call it in a kind of way church because I suppose in a sort of way it is, you know, but it's my idea of what church should be. And just ramming it down your throat and singing hymns and playing harmoniums and all that lot. This is interesting people who've got something to say, they're intelligent, you can take it in, and they're interesting, and also you have what you call, well, I don't know whether to call them film shows, that's stupid, because there ain't no films as you understand it, but it's if they've got some vast or something at the end of a large hall, like a big screen it is, I suppose, really, and you see all these pictures, I suppose, and all it's a history of man. And it's terribly exciting because you see all the different aspects of man's life through generations of time, how he's evolved and developed, and how certain aspects of man himself has prevented or created circumstances and situations which have made it difficult for him to achieve in the way in which he might have gone or intended or was hopeful. You know, he's illuminating to the mind. I'm learning a lot from that. Yeah. And yet it is a kind of church. Funny, isn't it? But it's not religion, you know, not the old orthodox bashing away and all that. None of the pulpit laugh and the man with the dog collar.
You tell about the history of man. Well, man didn't start with Adam and Eve, did he?
Fortunately so.
I mean, did they tell you that?
I think that's the old Bible story.
I know, now they've gone back, you know.
Oh, well, I think that man evolved and developed over aeons and aeons and aeons of time. And I think he just evolved from certain aspects from the physical point of view, from what I understand from the various lower species and gradual evolution through centuries and centuries of time. But the mentality of the spirit, the revitalizing the aspect of reality of self, as they call it, this was always there, searching for a way of expression. And gradually man evolved and became, as you term it, a human being. But I don't think it's got to do with religion. I mean, not in the old Orthodox way. Not like my sister believes. I mean, she still believes that, well, I'm going to make out on it. She believes much the same as used to do on the earth, that it's going to be a great resurrection day, and she'll go back to the earth, and her body's going to come out of the grave, and she's going to get all her flesh back on it. Don't know where she's going to get it from. Where she'll get her specs or not. But anyway, she'll probably be able to see without them if she ever gets back there. She's got all these old-fashioned ideas, and she lives in the community of people, and they're very religious, and I've been there a few odd times. She's tried to persuade me, but I just don't go for that, you know. But she lives in that way, and she thinks in that way, and that's the way she is. She don't seem to want nothing else. She's quite happy, and well, quite frankly, she's a good soul. I mean, I never thought otherwise. I mean, we used to have ups and downs, and she used to ram religion down my throat and try to get me to go with her, but I wouldn't buy that one. But she never was very happy about my friendship with my mate either. She always thought he was a bit too fond of drink. Well, he never got real mad drunk, only at Christmas and perhaps back holidays. But he was all right. And we used to have a pony and trap. Way back when, you know, I told you about the horse and cart, but we also had an old trap that we bought second hand, which was kept in this old place that we used to, you know, put the horse in and that, in the back street there, and we sometimes would go out into the country, because I'm talking about some years ago when you could get out in the country a bit, you know, and the motor car was, well, it was on the road and all that, but well, we used to get out and about, we used to enjoy ourselves, we used to go out and have a little booze up in a nice old country pub and some bread and cheese and that, and we were happy. She could never see anything to that, you know.
No. That was
quite different, you know. Well,
can I go back to, you know, you said you helped a dog that was killed.
Oh, yeah.
The doggy you've got.
Yeah, that's right.
Now then, what was it, when that doggy was killed, what was that to the etheric counterpart of that dog? Did it sort of look bewildered, wonder what had happened to itself, or what?
What do you mean by the etheric?
Well, the spirit of the dog.
Oh, well, the animal himself, the real dog.
Yeah.
I mean, you see, this is it. This is what I learned. That the body's nothing in a sense. It's only the shell. It's only the outer covering which you sort of express yourself. It's necessary in your world, from a material point of view. You have to have it. But the real self, the real spirit, the real person, like the everything, you might say, that really is you know, you, which goes on and on like. Well, I mean, the same with the animal. The dog just sort of, after it had been knocked down and killed, like, it just sort of stood around there like animals can do, like people do. As a matter of fact, when things happen like that, bewildered like. So, and I'm very fond of animals, and I just coaxed it away and brought it, and it's now with me. But,
I see,
you know, and a lot of animals, you know, these here poor little animals, they do these terrible things to. There's loads of souls on this side who go there to try and help and comfort when the poor little things cease to exist materially. They get taken away from there, and you see, this is another thing that the animals have such faith, and they're so simple and in their way and trusting, and then they get these things happen, and it affects them in a way. I mean, not only physically, but in a sort of mental sense. And we have quite a problem sometimes with some of the animals. They lose their faith and trust, you see. We have to restore that. It's like double work. Those places, if only people could realise what those vivisection places are like, it's as if they're in a terrible, terrible, terrible fog. The depression and the atmosphere around those places is something appalling. And I'll tell you one thing, mate, quite apart from the doctors and all the rest of it who do the experimenting, the people who work there will never, never being materially happy or successful. There'll always be trouble and disaster following its wake. They'll never know real happiness.
Well, of course not.
Because they're drawing all the wrong conditions and they're attracting the wrong conditions and people.
Because they're helping in it, aren't they?
Yeah, well, then take it from me that no one should have anything to do with those spaces.
No,
because the experiments and the terrible things that they do, the unnecessary things that they do, which no good can ever come of that. If anyone can be cruel to animals, they can do almost anything. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on it because it's depressing.
No, it's very interesting but you said that.
You've got to learn to live with nature. If you live naturally and live to nature and with nature, and you follow that nature's plan, you can't go far wrong. And you must do unto others as you would be done by. And that includes the poor dumb creatures. In fact, they need your help and assistance and kindness. And if you send out love everywhere, you can't go far wrong. It'll come back to you 1,000-fold. Not that you do good deeds because you want good deeds to come back to you. I mean, not that you expect, being returned, but our people don't know what to make of people. Conditions around your world are terrible. I mean, I come here like I'm attracted in a kind of way because I know that you're trying to do some good work and you've got some good people and you're kind and considerate and you're helpful and you're trying to find out truth. Give truth to others and encourage them and uplift them and all that. It's a joy to come here. But other places, not me. I mean, some of these churches and places are terrible. The atmosphere is appalling, People don't realise it, I mean, they all look nice on the surface and all the rest of it, and some of them are very beautiful, lovely things inside, but a lot of them are really empty. There's no real spirit there, there's no real understanding, there's no tolerance even sometimes. They're so narrow-minded and so bogged down with superstition and God knows what else. They don't realise that the truth is found not inside, but outside.
Quite right.
Perhaps I shouldn't say this because my sister would like it. She still clings to it all, but I can't see it's any benefit to her. She's happy in her way, it's true. But it all seems as if she's made no step forward nowhere.
She's bogged down, isn't she?
Well, she is, and so are all those people she links up with, congregates with. She's always trying to save me. I've told her many a time she'll never do that. I said, if you're an example of being saved, I said, I'm jolly glad I ain't. Anyway, I shouldn't say that, should I?
Oh, no.
She's happy. You see, people don't realise that there are all sorts of different conditions, as you call it, or states of being, or whatever you like to put it, according to the individual. Some people would say, I'm not progressed. Perhaps I'm not progressed, I don't know. All I know is that at least I've got an open mind and I'm trying to find out, I'm searching, I'm happy, I've got good companionship, love and affection, and my mind is open to receive, and if I can't accept something or I don't understand something, I say so, and I don't necessarily turn it down exactly, I give it thought, Yeah. But some of these people, God, stuff and close, you can't get anywhere near them, it's like a closed shop. They don't want to know. They just think that they're going to be, in some cases, like my sister, she really believes that all those old bits of bone and all the rest of it all coming together and the joints are going to be secured again, and she's going around as she was when on earth and clothed in glory on earth. Oh, dear, poor old thing. She wasn't much to look at then. Poor old sausage she is. Anyway, I can't stay.
Oh, it's very nice to come.
Rare old crowd round here today, I tell you all sorts. They all come in love.
Yes,
A few nosy ones, naturally, or searching, but that's just as well. Get all sorts, Anyway, all the best, and remember me to your friend.
I will, Mr.
Give him the best wishes.
I will. Thank you very much for your good talk.
Call me Wag.
Wag.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Wag. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Mickey Love.
Hi. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. You will have heard some of the things that WAG staff has discussed, vivisection amongst one things, and how not only the animals need rehabilitation, but also, of course, we do for certain things here. Hopefully you found it interesting about his sister that had a very fixed mind religiously, and the kind of plane or world that she inhabited with lots of people thinking the same. Of course, he wasn't connected to that. He was elsewhere. So we're just going to go into the break now, and we'll be right back after this.
This is the voice of spirit, your connection to the other side.
To understand something spiritually, you must experience it. And in order to experience it, you have to experience it in your imagination.
Explore with us by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Everything that now exists was once imagined. Therefore, everything that is going to exist must first be imagined.
Back with your guide to spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Leo Bonomo.
After these brief words from our sponsors. Welcome back to the Voice of Spirit, your connection to the other side.
There's no accidents in this universe. We all show up here with a purpose. There's an intelligence that is a part of everything and everyone, and all of us are connected to it.
Connect with us on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us live in our chat room at kcorradio.com. To get a free reading during the show, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Give us a call now.
Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. And now, inspirational clairvoyant medium, psychic, and your connection to the spirit, the host of the Voice of Spirit, Leo Bonomo.
Hi, welcome back to this segment. I hope that you've enjoyed that recording of Wagstaff. It is eye-opening in so many ways. And people often wonder, what happens to animals and how are they treated? And you can see that Wagstaff has a dog. It's a dog that he found passing over. And he, I suppose, in a sense, rescued the dog. And the dog now lives with him. He also has a horse. So you can see in many ways there are real reflections of this life that we live with animals. He also went into vivisection, which is ultimately cruel. It is something that we do for experimentation. And you understand Wagstaff's views on what happened and the fact that people that carry out vivisection on all different levels have no luck. Now, obviously, we understand that some of them make a lot of money from this. Making money in that sense, we wouldn't necessarily call it luck, because there is a payment, there's a due to be paid at the end of our lives. As he does explain very briefly, and as we know, sometimes we use animals for these experiments, for makeup, whatever it might be. There are other ways of doing this. So that is Wagstaff's own opinion, but it's also his opinion from what he knows from spirit and the way that things are conducted in that way. I hope you found it very interesting as well when he talks about his sister and going to meet her and how fussy she was around the home, and how she kind of disapproved of Wagstaff in some ways, and that she found herself, as we've said so many times, in her own particular plane. So we can talk about it being a plane or a vibration or a whole world. And you can see from the way that Wagstaff explains it that his sister is with a lot of people of the same religious mindset. And you can tell that they are going round in circles. As he explains, she is waiting for the day of judgment. She is waiting to step out of the grave, for her bones to be fleshed and to be taken up, at the trumpet call. So again, we could understand that these are very set ways of thinking. This is what the Bible teaches and what various religions that are certainly Catholic based teach. And you can see that that impression that we have is completely wrong. And because of the mindset, again, we can equate it to a whole world. There's a whole world of people of a similar mindset. And hopefully you will have noticed that the mindset there, they all endorse what each other think, because they all think the same thing. It is, I suppose, in a sense like Groundhog Day, if you've ever seen that film. There is no real advancement. And the way that spirit works is they wait for that questioning, that sudden spark of light or thought that something has to be different. It can't be this way. And those in spirit, certainly people we would probably talk of them as rescuers, when they understand that moment of enlightenment, no pun intended, is about to dawn, they are there. And as soon as that wondering comes, as soon as that acknowledgement that things must be different, that person is taken and lifted out of those conditions that they have set for themselves. And they are then taken to a place where they can be rehabilitated, educated, left to understand and comprehend themselves. But it just needs that initial spark of questioning, why is nothing changing? One of the things that wouldn't be obvious from that clip is that people may be in that condition, in that world that his sister inhabits, for hundreds and hundreds of years. Sometimes it may be thousands. To us, that seems like an awfully long time, because we measure it by Earth time. It can go very quick. They can be quite ignorant of how, in our terms, how much physical time has passed. Time doesn't really mean anything in spirit. So there's just a point when things are right and they come to the conclusion that it's not different, it's not changing, there must be something else. Something would spark that train of thought, and then someone's there to take over and to help us and lift us out of those conditions. So I hope that you find that enlightening, not just from a religious point of view, because it isn't just religion that traps us in that way. People that have lots of ego get stuck in places like that. They will probably find themselves very much alone. Those that have a craving of different types, those that are attached to material things, will find themselves in a world like that, populated with people thinking exactly the same thing. So don't latch on to the idea that it's just a religious thing. It can be anything, in fact, that we kind of latch onto and hold dear, especially if we're very, very stubborn and we haven't realised that we have passed away. We may understand there's a change, but not fully comprehend what's happened. So again, in this clip with Wagstaff, it throws light on many, many different areas. One of the questions I think that so many people ask is, can I visit my own funeral? Is this something that lots of people want to do? Some don't. Of course, those that have an inclination can do that. Some people are just relieved to have left this life behind and to move on. So again, it can be different for all of us. But certainly he went to see his sister. He went to the grave and outlines the priest being there, etc. So that is something that we can do. So if that is a question that you've wondered about and think, what happens? Does that happen? We can experience that if we want to. I think for some people, it is a matter of closure that, yes, people are missing us. Yes, things have changed. And we have closure in understanding that, rightly or wrongly, people have acted one way or another after our passing. So I'm sure that question is uppermost in lots of people's minds, and that has also been answered. Excuse me. So there are lots and lots of things that these clips highlight. Very different. Again, as we've said historically, very different in the way that they've both passed. Wagstaff, of course, was quite ill and in hospital when that happened. But it shows, they both show different aspects, but also similarities in the way that spirit works. So within these two clips alone, you get a very great spread of experience. As I said earlier, there are over 6,000 recordings. No more than 200 have been released, so there are many, many more. There is a recording which hopefully will play one day of Queen Victoria and her medium John Brown. Now, if you've seen the film with Billy Connolly about Mrs. Brown, and that was a reference to Queen Victoria, you will see that in the film itself, John Brown takes her to see a medium. So that is historically completely incorrect. John Brown was her medium. Queen Victoria used to go and see a very good medium called Lee's, and Lee, when she asked him for a good medium, his reply to her was, "Why are you looking for a medium? You've got a perfectly respectable gentleman there," which was John Brown. And one thing that you may not have heard, it's not general knowledge, is that John Brown became very close with Queen Victoria. They never had a relationship. He brought through Albert to her, and there were around 16 diaries full of the information that Albert was able to pass to John Brown for Queen Victoria. Information also came through on things happening in the country which she wasn't aware of, and that wasn't appreciated by the politicians of the time. And after her death, Queen Victoria's private study was entered. Her diaries, which would have been very evidential, were burned. And that's because, again, it wouldn't have suited her to disclose at the time, but obviously after her passing, it would have thrown a particular light on royalty. But the politicians of the day did not want this information to get out. So unfortunately, they burned all her diaries. So this is the reason that Queen Victoria was very close to John Brown. He was her medium. And in one of the recordings, Queen Victoria comes back. Very tellingly, she talks about being queen no longer. That's something else, you know. Some people do feel that if they're multimillionaire and they've got all this power and that they would be respected, they would be holding that power, they would have material possessions in spirit. None of that happens. We are shown to be ourselves, a person. That's it. A person who's had some experiences on earth of a particular fashion. That is it. And if you think about what the Egyptians believed, that when a king or a queen passed over, not only would be some of the servants that helped to build the pyramids be killed, but they would take with them servants to serve them in the underworld as they saw it, and those would be killed as well. Some went willingly because of their belief, but they were killed as well so that they were there with animals to serve them in the new life. So that dispels that kind of myth that they have there. So she talks quite openly. John Brown does join her and talks about her a little bit. It is a fairly short clip. From memory, it's about 12, 13 minutes, something like that. If I've got that wrong, I do apologise. But Queen Victoria comes through. So there are many that have come through. Not all of them have been resurrected, if that's the right word in this case, no pun intended. But they are being digitalised and new ones are being released all the time. So it gives you a completely authentic image of what happens on passing and how people find themselves. I have personally something like 130 different recordings, and one of the most amazing things is that no two experiences are alike. And for some that have lived in particular regions, it may be forests next to a sea or whatever, you tend to find yourself initially in that familiar surrounding. If you're very used to cities, you will find yourself in that kind of surrounding. You may also be astonished to hear that there are hospitals, what we would term universities, libraries, all the arts are there. One of the things that are very, very popular in spirit are the enactments from history, with the real people playing themselves. Again, all propaganda is stripped away, so it's truthful, but it may be very different to what we've learned of history ourselves. I'd like to talk very briefly about the method of it, because we've all heard of ectoplasm, and the way that this particular type of trance mediumship and direct voice works is the ectoplasm is removed from the body. Now, if you look scientifically for ectoplasm in the body, you can't find it. It is made up from half a dozen, perhaps, different elements that are within the pancreas, and they are mixed to make this substance we call ectoplasm. And that ectoplasm is taken and it's formed into something very similar to a human voice box. And this voice box has, for want of a better phrase, a kind of mask that comes with it. And what the communicating spirit will do is place their face inside the mask and project their thoughts into it. And although the ectoplasmic box and the voice box is invisible to us here, it acts exactly like vocal cords. So thoughts are transmitted into it, and the vocal cords vibrate and produce the sound. There is a knack to it. So even though sometimes the voices, if it's a voice you recognise, may be slightly different, again, if you go back to the scientific testing of the voice and the analysis of the voice, you'll find it's identical. It may change a little. That usually comes with experience of the person that's giving the talk. So people like Mickey, his guide and master of ceremonies, very, very experienced at using it. There are lots of people that come very often. You will also hear them talk about things that are going on, people that are not quite well. They will ask questions and they'll say, how is so-and-so? Because they don't keep tabs. If you listen to mediums, and myself in particular, we don't have all knowledge. The spirits that contact us and give messages on your behalf don't have all knowledge. Sometimes they have to go and find out for themselves. So they don't keep tabs on us. And this helps to dispel one of those myths that mediums have built up of saying that, you know, our loved ones are always with us. They're not there 24 hours a day. That certainly wouldn't be heaven, I don't think, by anybody's thinking. They're not the font of all knowledge. They do sometimes have to go and find out stuff. And if you listen to Mickey from the Leslie Flint site, you'll sometimes hear that he's not quite sure. He has to go off and check. but it corresponds to the way that sometimes mediums give information. So there are sometimes not asking for information because we shouldn't, but not being certain of information. And this is reflected very accurately in some of the recordings that we have. So I think from that point of view, it's vastly interesting to understand and talk intelligently to these voices, these people that come through, that some of what mediums have been saying, you know, that we need information, or it's not known, or we get something slightly incorrect, is reflected in some of these recordings too. If you want to have another show with some of these recordings, please let us know on Facebook, let us know on chat, because we'd be very pleased to do some of these. These are unique. There are lots of people that claim to channel Diana, Princess Diana, and I have someone in mind. One of the things that's reinforced, and it's unique with Leslie Flint, is that Spirit as a group got together and said, this is a very important project. We're going to get people from all over to come and talk. It is an exception. Generally, there's always a connection with those people that come through. I don't believe that gentleman that channels Princess Diana, lots of other people, including Jesus, apparently, had any physical connection with Diana. So it's something else to think about. I hope you found it interesting. I hope that if you want to hear more, you will certainly go to the Leslie Flint site and have a listen. It is absolutely fascinating. Again, everyone that I have heard has been a unique experience for that person. They are all different. And there's 8 billion of us here now, and we will all have a different experience of passing, of life in the spheres. But of course, there is a common thread that runs through that. I hope it's given you something to think about. I hope it's expanded your mind. I hope it has lessened any fear that you might have of passing, and that it reinforces that it is very natural. It's very easy. It is a wonderful thing, and we don't endorse suicide at all. Thank you. God bless you, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
You've been listening to Leo Bonomo, the host of The Voice of Spirit. Live every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, guests, and host of The Voice of Spirit, or to book a private reading, please visit leo-bonomo.com. That's leo-bonomo.com. Your connection to the other side is just a phone call away. The Voice of Spirit.
It is amazing, is it not?
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51. Wait, that doesn't exist. This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.